So, I've never made a YouTube video before, but I was replaying Pokemon Leaf Green, and I became divinely inspired. I was in Icewall Cave when this Rocket Grunt says to me, "Who says we can't do what we want with Pokemon we catch?" And I thought, damn, that's the most Liberite thing I've ever heard. So, naturally, I couldn't just let it go. I had to sort every single Pokemon villain on the political compass. Now, this video is brought to you by Microsoft PowerPoint. I wanted to use MS Paint, but just couldn't. So, without further ado, let's get into this, starting with Giovanni of Team Rocket. Giovanni is basically the head of the Pokemon Mafia, and like I said, this whole thing started with that Rocket Grunt, so I gotta put them in Lib-Right. Of course, we can argue that the Mafia is authoritarian in nature, but the flip side is the Mafia can also be thought of as an anti-government corporation, which sounds pretty Lib-Right to me. Next, I'm going to do Archie and Team Aqua together with Maxie and Team Magma, since really they are two sides of the same coin. The way I see it, they're both evil environmentalists. They want to force the world into their own preferred ecosystem where they have the most power. This makes them pretty AuthLeft in my view. The environment is their main concern, but they want to use it for complete domination. Maybe there's an argument for Archie being Lib-Left since he's basically a pirate, but I think I'm going to leave him be for the time being. So then we have Cyrus of Team Galactic. Honestly, this is a hard one for me. Cyrus wants to destroy the universe and remake it in his own image. He is very much an intellectual elite. He's definitely authoritarian, like he wants control over everything, but I can't quite place him left or right. Elitism seems to be more of a right-wing trait, with granting special privileges to your own group, but also wants to kill everyone pretty much equally, and equality is more of a left-wing trait. I think I gotta make him off-center. He doesn't really fit the left-right paradigm, but he's definitely authoritarian. Now, moving on to the generation with by far the best plot, I gotta look at N and Getsus separately, since their motives are both very different. N is very much concerned about the rights and freedom of animals, strongly in favor of both liberation and equality. He's probably the most lib-left character we've seen in a Pokemon game, and he even has the green hair to show for it. Getsus is quite different. He just wants control over the world, plain and simple, and employs a highly hierarchical regime in order to do so. He's definitely textbook alt-right, although I would say not as extreme as some others, which brings us to Lysander and Team Flare. These bougie a-holes are elitist as all hell, actively discriminating against the poor and wanting to commit genocide against those who don't fit into their standards. On paper, he's a lot like Thanos in that he wants to reduce the total number of living beings, but unlike Thanos, it's not fair or random. Only members of his team get to live. Team Flare membership, by the way, is 5 million Pokédollars, so his way of solving overpopulation is entirely elitist. I've heard some people suggest that Lysander is left-wing, even opposed to this, wanting to eliminate income inequality. I suppose technically killing all the poor people is one way of solving income inequality. He does speak a lot about theft, but considering what will happen to poor people under his plans, it feels more like a "they took our jobs" kind of theft. So really, he is by far the most alt-right villain we've seen in a Pokemon game, advocating for a very targeted genocide against the impoverished. Now, 7th Gen was pretty interesting. We had Guzma and Team Skull. You can't not love them. Guzma is best boy. Now, at first, I had them pegged as centrists, not really seeing them as political so much as lovable punks and delinquents who can probably smoke a lot of weed. Then I realized that Guzma himself is actually pretty politically motivated. He wants to abolish the Pokemon League, captains, and all the old traditions in favor of something new. He's an anarchist and a revolutionary. He does have a might make right philosophy, which would place him further right, although I think most of Team Skull is more interested in disrespecting the establishment by stealing and complaining about how they can't pay rent, which is textbook lib-left. So they're definitely libertarian. I think I'm going to place them just a smidge left of center. Of course, the real villains of the game are Lusamine and the Ether Corp. On the surface, they are major animal rights activists, which would suggest that they're somewhere in the lib-left. However, Lucimene's true motivations are to use and abuse Pokemon for her own benefit. Not only does this place her more liberal rights for the same reasons as Giovanni, this basically makes her Carol Baskin, claiming to support animal rights while having animals locked in cages behind her. Also, her husband did disappear under mysterious circumstances. Given how she runs her corporation, I'm going to make her slightly lib-right, plus it matches her hair color. Now, like Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield feature a not really villainous team and an antagonistic corporation that proves to be the real villain. Piers of Team Yell has no political motivation and really just wants to establish a hype team for his sister, which is honestly just adorable. Technically, since Pokemon League is the political infrastructure of the world, you could say that Team Yell is slightly alt-right since they're aggressively trying to get power for their own candidate, but I think they're really more just in for the glory than power, so they're pretty much just vibing in the middle. Finally, we have Rose, who's an environmentalist concerned with solving an impending energy crisis. Though concerned with the greater good, as the president of Macrocosmos, he does stand to financially benefit more than others by solving this crisis. So in this respect, I see him as being far left and very mildly authoritarian. And that's everyone. Some of these are, of course, highly debatable. I'm sure I contradicted my own reasoning a few times. I certainly made some decisions based solely on aesthetic. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Meanwhile, like and subscribe. Who knows? If anyone actually watches this video, maybe I'll do a second video, maybe a second political compass video. I also have some ideas for video essays that I could work on. I did have a lot to say about Star Wars, but I think the hype has died down. In any case, it would probably be risky given the current state of the fan base, but we'll see. So let me know what you think, and stay fresh, cheese bags.